You did not arrive at this message for no reason. Sometimes life places certain words in front of us at exactly the moment we are ready to hear them. There are experiences that seem ordinary on the surface, but awaken something deeper within us, something beyond rational explanation. That inner feeling that tells you to pause, listen, and pay attention may be more meaningful than you realize. Perhaps some part of you already recognizes what your conscious mind has struggled to understand. Maybe that is why you felt drawn to this message. And perhaps the person who has remained in your thoughts, even after you convinced yourself that you had moved on, is connected to that feeling. Their name may still appear in your mind unexpectedly. A memory may return when you least expect it. You may have released the relationship outwardly, while some deeper part of you still senses that the story is not completely settled. What you are experiencing may feel like more than simple nostalgia. Something may be shifting within you, and that shift can change the way you perceive the connection. Carl Jung explored the hidden layers of the psyche and believed that meaningful coincidences, or synchronicities, can sometimes reflect an inner transformation taking place beneath conscious awareness. Dreams, unexpected reminders, recurring symbols, and sudden memories can all become mirrors of what the unconscious is trying to bring into awareness. This does not mean every coincidence predicts the future, but it does mean your inner world may be communicating something important through the patterns you notice. When a significant emotional connection remains unresolved, your psyche can continue processing it long after the conscious mind has decided the chapter is closed. And sometimes, what feels like a mysterious pull is actually an invitation to look deeper at what the relationship awakened inside you. By the end of this message, you may begin to recognize why certain signs, memories, or emotions have been appearing, and what they could be revealing about your own inner journey. You may also realize that you are not simply waiting for another person. You are being prepared to understand yourself differently. For a long time, you may have carried a quiet certainty that you could never fully explain. It appeared in those silent moments before sleep, during early mornings, or after an ordinary day suddenly became still. You may have avoided talking about it because saying it aloud made you wonder whether it was genuine intuition or simply hope. So you kept it hidden. You stopped checking their profile, muted their updates, deleted reminders, or deliberately trained yourself not to look for them. Maybe you succeeded for several days or even weeks, yet somehow the person never completely disappeared from your inner world. You could be focused on work, building new routines, meeting people, pursuing goals, and genuinely trying to create a better life, only for their face or name to suddenly appear in your mind. A particular memory might return with surprising intensity. For a moment, you can almost hear their voice or remember exactly how it felt to be around them. Then you question yourself. You wonder why you are still affected, whether you should have moved on already, or whether these memories prove that you are somehow stuck. But healing does not require you to erase someone from your mind. Moving forward does not mean pretending that something meaningful never happened. You can rebuild your life, strengthen your identity, and choose yourself while still acknowledging that a particular connection left a deep psychological imprint. Perhaps that is what has been happening to you. You have not been standing still. You have been growing. You have been learning to live without depending on another person for your sense of completeness. Yet somewhere inside, a small part of you may still wonder what would happen if the story ever crossed your path again. That does not make you weak. It simply means the emotional meaning of the connection has not been reduced to nothing. Recently, you may also have noticed an unusual restlessness, vivid dreams, sudden memories, or an unexplained feeling that something is changing. Instead of immediately treating these sensations as proof that someone is returning, consider what they might be revealing about you. Your unconscious often speaks through emotion before the conscious mind understands the message. That flutter in your chest after waking from an intense dream,
That strange sense of familiarity, or the sudden appearance of an old memory, may signal that something within you is being reorganized. Like movement beneath the ground before anything becomes visible on the surface, your inner world can shift quietly before your outer life reflects the change.
You may have noticed it through small things that seem to appear at exactly the right moment. A song that suddenly reminds you of them, a number you keep encountering, or an unexpected wave of emotion that brings their memory back with surprising intensity. You may have believed you had finally accepted their absence, only to discover that something inside you still reacts when their presence returns to your awareness. But be careful about immediately turning these experiences into proof that the other person is coming back. Jungian psychology offers a deeper way to understand them. The unconscious communicates through symbols, associations, dreams, memories, and emotional patterns, often before the conscious mind understands what is happening. These experiences may be telling you that the connection still carries psychological meaning for you. Your rational mind will naturally challenge that interpretation. It will remind you why the relationship ended, the pain you experienced, the periods of silence, the distance, and everything that suggested the other person had moved forward. That caution has value. Logic protects you from confusing longing with reality. But logic is not the only kind of intelligence available to you. Carl Jung wrote that when two personalities meet, they can affect one another like chemical substances, leaving both transformed. That idea is important because some relationships change the structure of who we are. You may have discovered parts of yourself through this person that you had never encountered before. Your capacity for intimacy, your fears, your wounds, your desires, or even your ability to love deeply. And they may have experienced their own transformation through knowing you. Distance does not automatically erase those effects. A relationship can end externally, while its psychological impact continues unfolding internally. What happened between you may therefore deserve to be understood rather than romanticized or dismissed. While you have been rebuilding your life, finding your balance, and learning how to exist without depending on this connection, you may imagine that the other person has simply continued forward without being affected. From the outside, that can certainly appear true. Their social media may show ordinary routines, new experiences, work, travel, friendships, or even another relationship. But appearances cannot reveal everything happening inside another person's psyche. At the same time, it is important not to assume that hidden suffering or longing exists simply because you hope it does. What you can know with certainty is that significant relationships can leave emotional traces in both people, even when neither person speaks about them.
Perhaps they once believed that creating distance would solve everything. They may have thought that stepping away would give them perspective, quiet the emotional intensity, and make the decision easier. In their mind, separation might have seemed like the path toward certainty. If they could remove themselves from the situation, they could finally determine what they wanted without being overwhelmed by emotion. Yet sometimes distance does not create the clarity we expect. It creates space for memories to surface. Once the noise of the relationship disappears, the mind can begin replaying moments that were previously pushed aside. A familiar place, a song, a dream, or an ordinary conversation can unexpectedly activate an old memory. The absence itself can become noticeable, and when someone tries to replace a meaningful connection too quickly, comparisons can naturally arise. They may meet new people and discover that the emotional experience is different. That does not necessarily mean every new relationship is empty or that the past connection was destined to return. It simply means human beings do not experience every relationship in the same way. Some connections touch deeper psychological layers than others.
You cannot manufacture the exact combination of chemistry, vulnerability, history, timing,
and emotional intensity that existed between two particular people. This is where the Jungian idea of transformation becomes especially powerful. The value of a relationship is not measured only by whether it lasts forever. Sometimes its greatest impact lies in what it awakens within you and what you become afterward. If the other person ever reflects on what happened between you, they may have their own memories, questions, regrets, or realizations, but those belong to their inner journey, not something you can control or predict. Your task is not to wait for their realization. Your task is to continue becoming conscious of what this connection revealed about you. If paths cross again, you can meet that moment from a stronger and more grounded place. And if they do not, the transformation can still remain meaningful. What changed within you does not become worthless simply because the relationship ended.
When the night becomes quiet and the distractions disappear, the mind often loses the defenses it uses during the day. That is when memories can return with surprising force. You may imagine that this person lies awake thinking about you, replaying old conversations, remembering the final moments between you, and wondering whether you still think about them. But no one outside their mind can know exactly what they are feeling, and Jungian psychology asks us to look at something deeper than assumptions about another person's private thoughts. Separation can create a psychological space where unresolved emotions become harder to avoid. During the day, people can stay busy, create explanations, and convince themselves that they have made peace with their choices. In silence, however, the unconscious may bring unfinished emotions back to the surface. The person who walked away may eventually have to confront questions they once avoided. Was leaving really what I wanted? Did fear influence my decision? Did I mistake emotional discomfort for incompatibility? Could I have handled things differently? Ecclesiastes speaks of a time to search and a time to let go, and sometimes letting go becomes the very experience that teaches us what something meant. What was discarded may later become something we examine with new awareness. That does not guarantee reconciliation, but it can create a powerful period of reflection. Something may have shifted inside this person, perhaps through one significant event, or through months of gradually weakening defenses.
The feelings they once suppressed may have become impossible to ignore. Instead of seeing the relationship only through the story they created when they left, they may now be questioning that story. This is where Jung's concept of the shadow becomes especially relevant. The shadow contains aspects of ourselves that we reject, hide, or refuse to acknowledge. Fear, insecurity, pride, self-sabotage, and the need for control can all become part of that hidden territory. Real psychological growth requires us to become conscious of these patterns rather than blaming circumstances or other people for everything. If this person is undergoing such a process, they may be confronting uncomfortable truths about themselves. They may be realizing how their defenses affected the relationship and how their fear of vulnerability shaped their choices. And perhaps through that process, they are finally able to recognize you without the distorted story they once needed in order to leave. They may begin to understand what they received from the connection, what they lost, and what their own behavior contributed to the ending. Whether that realization leads them back to you is something only their actions can reveal. Inner change becomes meaningful only when it eventually produces conscious behavior.
And this is where you need to pay attention to the difference between intuition and wishful interpretation.
You may sense that something is changing. You may feel unusually restless, experience vivid dreams, encounter unexpected reminders, or repeatedly come across things associated with this person. Those experiences can feel deeply significant, especially when they happen during moments when you are already thinking about them. But a Jungian perspective does not require you to assume that every coincidence is a supernatural message about another person's future behavior. Jung's idea of synchronicity was about meaningful connections between inner experience and outer events, not a promise that the universe will deliver a specific person back to you. The sign you have noticed may therefore be less about predicting what someone else will do and more about revealing what your own unconscious is processing. Perhaps you keep seeing certain numbers. Maybe 1111 appears repeatedly, or you encounter dates connected to your relationship, the day you met, or another personally meaningful event. Your brain naturally notices patterns, especially when emotions are involved. Yet the fact that a pattern captures your attention can still be psychologically meaningful. It tells you that something within you is emotionally activated. The same can happen with music.
A song connected to a particular memory suddenly plays in a store. Another familiar song appears in a random playlist. You hear a melody that immediately transports you into another time. Instead of treating these moments as guaranteed evidence that someone is returning, pause and ask what they awaken inside you. What memory appears? What emotion follows it? What part of the relationship are you remembering? The person themselves, the feeling you experienced, the version of yourself you became around them, or the future you imagined? That question is far more powerful than simply asking whether the universe is sending you a prediction. Synchronicity can become meaningful when it helps you recognize something your conscious mind has been avoiding. The recurring number, familiar song, unexpected dream, or sudden memory may be inviting you inward. And perhaps the real message is not simply that someone is coming back, but that you are finally becoming conscious of what this connection meant, what it changed within you, and what you are ready to understand now. Maybe the signs have appeared through music, dreams, memories, or unexpected reminders that seem to arrive at strangely precise moments. A song connected to the relationship suddenly plays when you are not looking for it. You hear a melody that instantly takes you back to a particular night, a conversation, or a feeling you thought you had already released. Perhaps you have also dreamed about this person. You may not remember the entire dream after waking, but you remember that they were there. You remember the emotional atmosphere, the closeness, the sense that something between you was peaceful again, even if no words were spoken. Then you wake with an ache that seems strangely familiar, as though the dream reopened a door you had carefully closed. From a Jungian perspective, dreams can be powerful expressions of the unconscious. They often bring unresolved emotions, memories, desires, and parts of ourselves that have not yet been fully understood into symbolic form. So rather than assuming every dream is a literal meeting between two souls, consider what their appearance represents within your own psyche. What part of you becomes alive when they appear? What unfinished emotion is asking to be acknowledged? The same is true when an old memory suddenly arrives in the middle of an ordinary day. You could be driving, working, cooking, or doing something completely unrelated, and suddenly you are transported into a moment from the past. You remember their voice, their expression, the atmosphere, even small details you had forgotten. It can feel as though time briefly folded in on itself. These moments may not be random in the psychological sense. A memory becomes activated because something in the present resembles, touches, or awakens something from the past. Perhaps a sound, scent, place, emotion, or unconscious association opened that particular doorway. You may also hear their name through mutual friends. Someone mentions them casually, asks whether you have spoken recently, or tells a story in which they happen to appear. When this happens immediately after you have been thinking about them, the coincidence can feel almost impossible to ignore. Jung called experiences like these synchronicities, events that may have no obvious causal connection, but nevertheless carry personal meaning. The important question is not whether every coincidence proves that another person is secretly thinking about you. The deeper question is why that coincidence matters so much to you at this particular moment. What does it awaken? What does it reveal about the emotional chapter you are still processing? Even physical sensations can become part of this experience. You may suddenly feel warmth, tension,
heaviness in your chest, or an unexplained emotional shift. Your body can register memories and emotions before your conscious mind understands them. That does not necessarily mean you are receiving another person's energy across an invisible bridge. It may mean your nervous system and unconscious are responding to something that has emotional significance. Your body often knows that something matters before your intellect has found the words.
When certain memories, songs, numbers, dreams, or coincidences keep appearing, it is natural to wonder whether they are trying to tell you something. You do not have to dismiss these experiences, but you also do not need to surrender your judgment to them. Instead, allow them to become invitations to look inward. Carl Jung's idea of synchronicity was not simply about believing that every unusual event is a supernatural message. It was about recognizing that certain outer events can become deeply meaningful when they correspond with something happening within the psyche. A song may suddenly remind you of someone because that relationship still carries emotional significance. A familiar number may catch your attention because your mind has connected it to an important memory. A dream may bring someone back because your unconscious is still processing feelings that your conscious mind believed were finished. The value of these experiences is not necessarily that they predict what another person will do. Their value may be that they reveal what is still alive within you. Instead of repeatedly asking, "When will this person return?" ask yourself a more transformative question: who am I becoming while I am living through this uncertainty? That question moves your attention away from another person's choices and brings your power back to where it belongs, with you. You cannot control when someone becomes aware, when they find courage, or whether they decide to return. Watching your phone constantly, studying every coincidence, checking their activity, or searching for hidden meanings in ordinary events will not create a reunion. It will only keep your emotional world tied to something you cannot control. If that person ever comes back, allow reality to speak through their behavior. Genuine change will reveal itself through consistency, honesty, accountability, and action, not simply through signs that can be interpreted in countless ways. Until then, continue living. Do not place your dreams, growth, happiness, or future on pause while waiting for someone else's decision. Your life is happening now, and this period can become an important part of your transformation.
Sometimes the waiting period teaches you something that getting the person back never could. When someone is gone, you are forced to confront a question you may have avoided for a long time. Can you still feel whole when the person you wanted is no longer there to reassure you? This is where waiting can become a psychological mirror. It can reveal how much of your identity became connected to being chosen, wanted, remembered, or loved by someone else. You may begin noticing places where attachment became anxiety, where love became fear of abandonment, or where you started measuring your worth through another person's attention. This does not mean your feelings were wrong. It means the relationship may have uncovered parts of you that needed your awareness. Jung believed that relationships often bring unconscious material into consciousness. The people who affect us most deeply can activate old wounds, hidden desires, fears, insecurities, and even qualities we have never fully developed within ourselves. Sometimes we project an ideal onto another person and begin believing they possess something that can complete us. But the deeper psychological task is to recognize that what we see in them may also point towards something within ourselves. Perhaps this person awakened your capacity to love deeply. Perhaps they made you feel understood in a way you had never experienced before. But perhaps the connection also revealed how easily you could abandon your own needs simply to keep someone close. You may have tolerated uncertainty, ignored your boundaries, over-explained yourself, or accepted less than you deserved because losing the relationship felt more frightening than losing yourself. The pain of separation can expose these patterns in a way comfort never could. And although that realization can hurt,
it can also become the beginning of genuine growth. You begin to understand that loving someone does not require disappearing inside the relationship. You can care deeply while remaining connected to your own identity. You can miss someone without chasing them. You can hope without putting your entire life on hold. This is what it means to return to yourself.
That is why this period should not automatically be seen as punishment, rejection, or wasted time. It may be a preparation for becoming emotionally stronger, more conscious, and more discerning. And that preparation matters whether the person eventually returns or never comes back. If they do return, you want to meet them as the person you have become, not as the version of yourself who was desperately waiting for relief. You can hear their apology, listen to their explanation, and still pay attention to their behavior. Words can create hope, but consistent actions reveal whether someone has actually changed. You can ask yourself whether the relationship now supports your well-being, whether there is mutual respect, whether communication is healthier, and whether both people are willing to take responsibility for what happened. Missing someone is not enough reason to rebuild something that once damaged your peace. And if they return, but your inner answer is no, you are allowed to honor that decision. Saying no does not mean you never loved them. It can mean that you finally learned how to love yourself as well. Choosing peace does not make you emotionally cold, and choosing love does not make you weak. The important thing is that the choice comes from consciousness rather than fear. Even if the person never returns, your growth does not become meaningless. You can still build relationships that feel safer,
Create new memories, discover new passions, and develop a life that is not dependent on one particular outcome. In fact, perhaps the deepest sign was never the repeating number, the familiar song, or the unexpected coincidence. Perhaps the real sign was the moment you realized you could experience uncertainty without abandoning yourself. You stopped needing an external answer before allowing yourself to move forward. You began becoming someone who can choose instead of simply waiting to be chosen. That is a profound psychological shift. You are not defined by who left, what happened, what failed, or what you hoped would happen. You are shaped by the meaning you give those experiences and by what you consciously decide to become afterward. So when you say, "I trust the timing," let that statement be about more than another person's return. Let it mean that you trust your own development. Trust that you are becoming more capable of recognizing healthy love, unhealthy attachment, genuine effort, and empty promises. Stay open to possibilities, but keep your feet on the ground. Allow hope without turning it into certainty. Remain receptive without abandoning discernment. And above all, never sacrifice your inner peace simply because you are afraid of losing someone. What is truly right for your life will not require you to betray yourself to keep it. The goal is not to become someone who no longer cares. The goal is to become someone who can care deeply without losing themselves in the process.